All right. I think we're live. We're gonna wait here a second to see it pop up. All right, cool. I think we're live. So this is another new comic weekly. You guys know the drill. Hopefully you've been watching week to week every single Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern. We're going live. And the first topic, of course, is going over the weekly pull list. So this week is February 25th. We've got 12 pulls that we'll be getting into. Not way over my budget, $55, just over that $50 budget I like to stick to. That's all right. The last couple weeks have been pretty slim. Then also we're going to get into the weekly comic book reviews. You guys see a lot of cool stuff to review from last week. Absolute Batman, Ultimate Spider-Man, new DC Vertigo title. Got some great stuff from Marvel like Captain America. We also have Fantastic Four somewhere in here. We got Nightwing number 135, the end of the arc. Exquisite Corpses 10, G.I. Joe, and Wonder Woman 30. So reviewing a lot of cool comic books that came out last week. The big topic for today, we're going to be talking about the DC Solicits. A lot of cool new series announced. New Barbara Gordon series as part of DC Next Level. And then we'll be getting into some of the collected editions as well that are coming from DC. That's the May 2026 DC Solicit. So we'll be getting into that. But first things first, we got to get into the pull list for the week. So this week's pull list, February 25th, we got 12 pulls for a total of $55. I like to stick to $50, but that's all right. Last couple weeks have been pretty light, like I was saying. Pick of the week this week, as you guys can see, a lot of cool things. We got double absolutes. We got an Ultimates issue. Some good stuff from DC. A lot of great stuff from Image with Escape, Power Fantasy. We got a new DC Vertigo title as well with an Ezra Kane mystery, Peril of the Brutal Dark. I think for me, pick of the week is going to be Absolute Wonder Woman number 17. We know that she's going up against the Absolute Suicide Squad, Absolute Zatanna, and the rest of her crew. I'm excited to get into it. So this is going to be the follow-up to issue 16, and I had a lot of fun with issue 16. Let's see what I gave it as a rating. We gave it a 5-star, dude, so really good issue there. Looking to keep it going. Wonder Woman betrayed, Diana faces off against a team assembled with only one mission in mind, take down Wonder Woman at any cost. But after a strangely intimate betrayal, Diana finds herself outplayed, boxed in, and running out of options. So we know that Hayden Sherman, Kelly Thompson, the rest of the creative team continuing their fun series. Absolute Wonder Woman is my pick of the week. But with that being said, we got Paul Dev in the chat. He's saying, hey, Absolute Martian Manhunter number 9 week. That might be Paul Dev's pick of the week. Close second for my pick of the week. We know this series has been really good from Dennis Camp, Javier Rodriguez. We got issue 9, 10, 11, and 12. So only 4 more left before this creative team says goodbye to John Jones and the Martian. Interesting kind of place we've set up at, or, that they've been leading us to. We know that our Martian has been sort of kidnapped by this evil government organization, it seems. And it seems like John Jones has been invaded possibly by like an anti-Martian. It's separate from the white Martian, so very interesting. It says, alien autopsy, what Martian secrets will the agency discover as they peel back layers of mystery, metaphor, and fascia? Meanwhile, John searches for his missing partner as his world continues to crumble around him. Loving the cover on this one as we see John Jones' kid playing with the characters of the series like dolls. He's been doing that. He's like a kid who really likes Play-Doh and that sort of thing. So looking forward to this. We got a great Werther Dell'Edera cover there, a Dan Hip cover as well. All the covers for Absolute Martian Manhunter in particular are really weird and trippy, so really cool stuff. Loving the Absolute Martian Manhunter series. Jumping into the chat really quick. We got Derek Seaborn saying, what's up? Yo, Derek, thanks for joining. The Rex B1 saying, May Solicitations out, need to check it out. We'll be hitting up the Solicitations here in a bit. That's the big topic for today's new Comic Book Weekly. After we get through the weekly comic pulls, and then we talk about the weekly comic book reviews, the stuff that came out last week, we'll be getting into the DC May Solicits. A lot of cool stuff in there. Paul Dev says, hope we see this creative team on Doom Patrol next. Paul, I love that idea. I saw that also in, so people were speculating in because we know that with issue 12, it's going to be ending the series. What is Javier Rodriguez Dennis Camp going to be working on next? And someone did an interview with Dennis Camp, and it sounds like they have their next project lined up. DC asked this creative team, like, yo, you guys want to keep going with Absolute Martian Manhunter? We'll give you guys the grace. If you ever want to come back to the character, feel free. This is your guys' stuff. But They also, DC offered that creative team an opportunity that they couldn't refuse, and that's got the wheels spinning. What could this creative team be working on? And with the announcement of DC Next Level, the fact that they're going to be doing a Doom Patrol series, this is the perfect creative team, man. I mean, think about how wacky Doom Patrol can be. Dennis Camp just taking control of that, an in-continuity DC series, so that has a lot of potential. I'm with you. I'm hoping this creative team does Doom Patrol as their next project. Derek Seaborn says, Apparel of the Brutal Dark for him is pick of the week. Let's get into it, man, because that's got to be, to be honest with you, that's probably my pick of the week as well, just because this creative team of Chris Condon and Jacob Phillips, they're coming back together, rejoining for a DC Vertigo title. It says that it's going to be, New York City, 1941. This character, Ezra Kane, is a private investigator, and he is going to be going on this quest to stop these evil people. I think they're going to be fascists. I think they're going to be Nazis. They're going to be stealing from the Museum of Natural History an ancient anvil said to hold the power of the Greek god Hephaestus. So it's going to be like an Indiana Jones type, but we know that with him being a private investigator, you're going to be getting that crime and noir sort of flavors in this series. And I just love this creative team, from That Texas Blood to the Enfield Gang Massacre. It's just really cool seeing them team back up for a DC Vertigo title. And Chris Condon and Jacob Phillips as the colorist and the artist, the interior artist as well as doing his own coloring. And then Hassan Otsmane-Alehu, the best letterer in the game. Very exciting stuff. So this is honestly probably my pick of the week. It's a close three-way tie, man. DC has a lot of cool stuff coming out. So it's between that, Absolute Wonder Woman, Absolute Martian Manhunter, they're all fighting for the top spot. But I will say that Peril of Brutal Dark was my most anticipated DC Vertigo title. So, big ups to that, because a lot of cool stuff's coming from Vertigo. But that one, to me, has the most promise. Let's keep it going, though, and talk about the Ultimates issue 21. This one's going to be focused on Luke Cage, at least from the cover and at least on the solicit here. It reads, Luke Cage and New Avengers led by Luke Cage take on the Maker's Council. Prisoners turn superpowered heroes thanks to the heroic catalyst reclaimed from the Maker in an all-out brawl across the globe. We know that the Ultimates network is spinning up. More people are getting invited to join the Ultimates. Regular everyday people are joining, but then also more and more superpowered people are being created in this Ultimate Universe to try to fight back against the Maker. It's been some of my favorite parts of the Ultimate Universe, like this Luke Cage character and just what he's been working on and kind of his goals and just his story and his journey in the Ultimate Universe, I think has been one of the most interesting parts. So really excited to see some more from this Luke Cage. And Dennis Camp writing this one. So Dennis Camp with 2 big issues this week. Really great stuff there. As we see the Ultimate Universe coming to an end, I think they even delayed the ending, man. It's like, Jesus Christ. I'm just kind of looking for it to end. I don't really want to keep track of the Ultimate Universe anymore, even though I've really been enjoying this Ultimate series, and we're going to be talking about Ultimate Spider-Man here in a second once we get into the reviews. But yeah, the Ultimate Universe coming to an end. Just kill it already, man. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, let's talk about some DCKO tie-ins. We know DCKO is still going on. Fun stuff there. We got Superman number 35. A lot of interesting things going on in the Superman title. We know that since Superman's in the tournament, it's been Lois Lane and Superboy Prime outside of the tournament that are trying to handle things. They got to try to do what they can to try to save the DC Universe. It seems like, actually, let's just read the solicit. I think it'll explain it better. The end is nigh. Superman's time in the tournament has taken its toll, and now Darkseid's Legion plans to make a massive sacrifice for their lord, and Time Trapper is too late to stop them. Only 3 unlikely heroes can show the corrupted Legion the light. The end of this issue sets up the end of DCKO, but also massive status quo changes for Superman. I'm expecting this to kind of lead the charge for the new sort of, like they say here, the status quo change for Superman. Later this year, we know that it's going to be the reign of the Superboys, I believe. So Superboy Prime taking over the main Superboy title, Superman title, and the rest of the Superboy characters getting some shine in the Superman side of things over at DC. So excited about that. I think that the DCKO tie-ins have all been pretty solid, but the Superman one especially has been real fun. I just like anything with Superboy Prime. I think he's a really cool character. So Josh Williamson, we still have Eddie Barrows. Such a cool look for any of the Superman family of characters. I think Eddie Barrows just nails it. with some assisting inking from Abir here, and some great coloring from Sanchez. Sanchez's stuff on Eddie Barrow's like line work is just really great. So Superman number 35, the first DCKO tie-in we're talking about. We also got to talk about this one here. This is going to be the Terrific 10 Part 5, maybe closing out this little arc for the Terrific 10. We know that Mr. Terrific is in hell. He's trying to stop, I think, Neuron, right? Yeah, he's trying to get him to sort of hold off on his what he's doing on Earth at the same time that Darkseid's doing his thing. So Mr. Terrific in hell, as the Earth's mass evacuation continues, in order to save millions, Mr. Terrific and what's left of his Terrific 10 must march through hell to confront its ultimate ruler, Neuron, and expose the traitor in their midst. So we know that in Terrific 10, a member of that group has been sort of working with Neuron this whole time. A pretty crazy twist in that last issue. So looking to keep it going with Justice League Unlimited number 16. I had this on my pull, but I'm not picking it up, I don't think, unless my shop has it on the side. But this is one of the DCK times I haven't been keeping up with in single issues. But the Flash 30 also comes out. Mark Waid, Christopher Cantwell as the writers. So I think that's why I initially pulled it on the app, but I don't know if my shop will have one for me. Let's keep it going. Jumping into some of the Image comics, or I guess some of the indies to close out this portion of the video. We got Skinbreaker number 6, The Battle That Had to Happen, Enoch versus Spoiler, a Robert Kirkman written series with David Finch on the artwork. One of the most beautiful books on stands right now. It really is like stunning work to look at. Not like all about the story. It's pretty solid. It's okay. Not like the best thing ever of all time, but I do think that it's worth it, at least for me, to pick it up from the art perspective at least. So keeping it going with Skinbreaker. We also have the return of Escape. Man, Escape has been so good. Captured and surrounded, Milton Shaw's final mission begins. But when the walls come down, so does the lie, because getting caught was never the plan. The explosive finale to the first story arc of Rick Remender and Daniel Acuña's smash hit new series. You guys know I've been loving Rick Remender and Daniel Acuña's series Escape here. It's so good. It's anthropomorphic animals. The guy on the cover here, he's like a bear named Milton. He is going on this mission in World War II time frame. He's trying to bomb this giant cannon that the Nazis are going to use to win the war. And his plane gets shot down. So he's behind enemy lines and he's still trying to complete his mission. So really, really good stuff. And this is not really a side, whatever. I just played Metal Gear Solid Delta and it's so similar to this game, or at least this mission, right? Like being behind enemy lines and trying to destroy this cannon. That's just the plot of Metal Gear Solid Delta. So really fun there. With Escape, excited for the series to return. Let's jump into the chat really quick. We've got Brick Meter. Brick's Meter says, can't wait for the new Infernal Hulk issue. And then Derek Seaborn saying Infernal Hulk is peak. I know some people were worried that Infernal Hulk was, there was some confusion with Philip Kennedy Johnson, like was he leaving the title or something, but it's cool seeing it. No, it's continuing. It might be getting, or no, it just got renumbered, right? But yeah, so people are loving Infernal Hulk, all the stuff that Philip Kennedy Johnson's doing over at Marvel. People are having some good fun with that. Let's keep it going. Let's also talk about the Power Fantasy. Issue number 16. The last issue ended off on such a cliffhanger. I don't even know where to begin. Like, reading issue 16, we don't even know if the world's going to be like a thing. Or did the world just blow up? It just says, okay, then you win. Let's do a fight. All right, so that's an interesting solicit from Kieran Gillen and Casper Wingard here. We don't know what the heck's going to be going on in this issue. Is this series going to be ending? Because look, there's nothing else solicited, guys. What's going on with Power Fantasy? Is this the finale to the series? I have no idea. Power Fantasy number 16. I'm excited to get into it. And it really is. I mean, if this ends the series, man, one of the best series out of Image, really, honestly. Like a top 10 for sure. Like you guys got to pick it up. Look at my ratings for each issue. It's been it's at like a 4.5 out of 5 average. Okay, so number 3, it doesn't say which issues it includes. I don't know if this is the last issue, guys. We'll have to see. Power Fantasy number 16. Excited to see what the heck's going on with it, and the future for Power Fantasy. We'll have to check up on that. Let's talk about the newest Universal Monsters series that's coming out. We got The Phantom of the Opera. This comes out this week from writer Tyler Boss with art from Martin Simmons. Martin Simmons might be familiar if you read Department of Truth or you read the previous Universal Monsters, the Dracula series with James Tynion as the writer. So Tyler Boss, well-versed in the slasher genre. He just did You'll Do Bad Things last year that I quite enjoyed with artwork from Adriano Turtolici, I think. And yeah, that was a good slasher story. So getting Tyler Boss to come in and mess around in the Universal Monsters sandbox, I think is a great idea. Teaming up with artist Martin Simmons, some of the best artwork, one of the best artists in the modern day, I think, because if you turn to like just a random page of Martin Simmons stuff, it looks like an actual piece of art. Like you could just take that page out, put it on a poster or put it in a frame in like a museum or something like that. It really is that good. So just the fact that we have Martin Simmons doing a lot of the interiors is we're just so lucky as comic fans. So yeah, looking forward to picking this up. A new Universal Monsters series. This has potential to possibly be like, I don't know, like the second best or the third best, man. So all the Universal Monster stuff has been solid, but I have high hopes for the Phantom of the Opera here. And then I think this is the last one. Yeah, last comic to talk about for the pull list for February 25th. A new series, new #1 from writer-artist Dave Chisholm. I'm a huge fan of Dave Chisholm stuff. I have right over here, we have Chasing the Bird. We have Miles Davis' Search for the Sound. I also really enjoy Enter the Blue. Dave Chisholm also did Plague House last year. He also did Spectrum with Rick Quinn as the writer last year. So a lot of great stuff from Dave Chisholm. His output is so incredibly high, like the quality. So excited to see his new series come out of Mad Cave. It's called Is Ted Okay? It's all about the guy on the cover here. He is starting to lose it. He's not really doing well mentally. And someone has been tasked to watch over him online, I guess, like sort of spy on him potentially and just make sure that he doesn't, I don't know, like hurt anybody, hurt himself or whatever. And so she decides to try to intervene and sees that he's not doing well. And she tries to reach out and help him. But that causes all sorts of other issues. So is Ted okay? We're waiting to see what's going on with this one. But in the solicit, Dave says that it mashes up the existentialism of Severance with the cosmic sci-fi of Akira while exploring what happens when the act of help goes horribly wrong. So yeah, following Dave Chisholm's other great smash hits, I'm expecting Is Ted Okay to be another one in Dave Chisholm's belt. So yeah, Is Ted Okay? Excited about that one. And that's the last thing we're talking about for this week's pull list. Looking back over it, it's got to be the Ezra Kane Peril of the Brutal Dark is my #1 pick. Close second. And like as close as you can be in second place, we got Absolute Wonder Woman, followed even closer by Absolute Martian Manhunter. Then we got some great stuff from DC. Only one thing from Marvel, and then a lot of great stuff from Image Comics as well this week. So that's what I'm picking up. Let me know what you're picking up down in the comments. And while you're down there, like if you like, sub if you love, and catch you guys in the next one. Yeah, anyways, so yeah, you guys watching live, you guys know the drill. That'll be its own video on the channel. But you guys are watching it live, right? So Namad319, Cody, you quickly becoming one of my favorite comic YouTubers. Keep doing your thing, bro. That's a very nice comment. So thanks for the words of encouragement. I really appreciate it. We're starting to pick up steam on the channel, man. It's really exciting. It seems like, it's resonating, I guess, what I'm putting out there. So yeah, thanks for the kind words. And as we're getting ready, guys, the next topic we're going to be talking about some of the weekly comic books that came out last week. I'm trying to decide what I want to review. We're going to talk about Absolute Batman first, then we'll get into Ultimate Spider-Man, the finale, and then we'll continue from there. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's do some comic book reviews. Actually, I'm going to take a sip of, I got Cherry Float Coca-Cola. New flavor, Coke Zero. Yeah. So anyways. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Oh, also, we're trying a new camera today. So this is the camera I usually film my regular videos. So hopefully the quality is a little better because the camera I was using before to stream was my MacBook camera. And that's not the best camera I could have been using the whole time. But I guess I was worried that there'd be like a connection issue. And so far we're doing good. It says 4K here, but I don't think it's recording in 4K. It's probably just recording in normal 1080p. Also, the mic should be a lot better. Usually we're using the Yeti over here. I get complaints all the time that it's like too low, and I don't want to fix it in post. So hopefully this mic just is right out of the box better. Anyways, dude, with that being said, let's get into some comic book reviews. So a lot of great things to talk about this week. We got the Absolute Batman, the Poison Ivy issue. We got the finale to Ultimate Spider-Man. We got a new DC Vertigo title. Great stuff from Marvel with Captain America 7. Great stuff from Image Comics as well with Exquisite Corpses. A Nightwing finale for the arc. A lot of great stuff, man. So let's get into it and do some comic book reviews. First things first, the Batman, Absolute Batman with the Poison Ivy, dude. So sick, right? So one of my favorite villain origin stories in the Absolute Universe right now is this Poison Ivy. I thought it was so compelling to kind of see she had all the best intentions, trying to help her mom, right? So as a mama's boy, that hits extra hard. This version of Absolute, Poison Ivy is just, she's kind of savage, man. So for some reason, this building has been covered in all sorts of weird plant life or whatever, and it's kind of odd. So Absolute Batman goes in to investigate, and it looks like Poison Ivy, whatever she's capable of doing, it's turning these, these police officers that were sent in previous to Batman, it's turning them into sort of zombies. So he's got to deal with that. We get some cutaways to Absolute Batman as he's, just walking around the city during the daytime. He's trying to check up on his friends, make sure they're okay. It seems like the citizens of Gotham are getting more and more, energized and inspired by this Absolute Batman, which is something that he didn't quite expect. So that was interesting to see. More cutaways to this Absolute Poison Ivy and her origin story. It looks like Bruce visits Joe Chill every single week, I think it said, and it seems like Joe Chill, he said, "Hey, I'm not coming anymore to visit with you," and that kind of pisses this version of Bruce off. And then we just get some great moments of. This was cool too. We're getting more details on Commissioner Gordon and Bruce's mom and kind of the interplay between them, and potentially some darkness, some dark secrets that the mom is sort of hiding from Bruce. So we'll have to see that play out. Of course, at the very end of this issue, we get that fully kind of realized and we know what we're in for. As we see the character design of this Absolute Poison Ivy, she's cool. This one's actually a clone though. That's not the main one. Bruce tries to flamethrower her. Turns out that that's not even the main one. This is the main one, dude. So wow, great character design. One of the most intimidating and scary character designs in the Absolute Universe for sure. And it seems like right here, she can do this with her body or whatever. So that's fun for Bruce to try to deal with. And then at the very end, of course, we get a tease to the Court of Owls, the Absolute Court of Owls. What an insane issue. It's just Scott Snyder just keeping it going. I thought the guest artist was really solid as well. Eric Canet. So as the guest artist, I think he nailed it. So if you ever want him to be a guest artist for a future issue, fine by me, man. But what a great issue there. Jump into the comments real quick. No Name says Exquisite Corpses worth it. I would say it's worth it. I'm a big fan of James Tynion's stuff. I like Michael Walsh's stuff as the artist as well. So that got me in the door. But then the concept alone is just like it's like a horror series, like a slasher, but it's like a battle royale with all these killers who are trying to be the last one standing in this small town in Maine. And all the citizens in the small town are getting caught in the crossfire as these killers don't really care about killing civilians. They're trying to kill each other. They don't care if they kill civilians in the meantime. So just on a concept alone, I think that it's pretty solid. I think that, the first trades are out. So definitely flip through next time you're at your comic store and see if it's something that interests you with Exquisite Corpses. Ben 10 from Boom Studios comes out in a few months. Okay, I wasn't a Ben 10 guy growing up, but that is pretty cool. Mad Cave has been putting out some good work lately. I've been keeping an eye on Mad Cave. I used to have a closer connection with them. They would send me some of their newer stuff, but they've been kind of silent. They haven't sent me any emails recently, but I've been keeping an eye on it. Should I get Little Caesars or Domino's? Bricks Meter? That's a good question. Little Caesars is cheaper, so maybe Little Caesars save you some money there. Although, I'm not opposed to getting Domino's. Or am I into Something Is Killing the Children? Not Skim Milk Ass. So I recently read the deluxe edition #1 as part of my October reading last year. So I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I am reading it in the deluxe edition formats though. So once they release deluxe edition 3, and I haven't read #2 yet, but I'll be reading it like that. I used to collect it in singles, but I kind of stopped I just prefer reading it in deluxe editions, but I know that those that have been reading it week to week, month to month or whatever, have been really loving it. So yeah. All right, let's get into the rest of the comic book reviews. Let's talk about Ultimate Spider-Man. So this was the finale to the series, and I think that it landed, like it stuck the landing, but I'm just like, man, overall, I really do think that this series has been kind of a disappointment. First off, I gotta say, I mean, listen, I don't mind guest artists, but I really do not like Messina's art style. I don't think it matches what Marco Cocchetto does, and it's a little bit jarring to see it flip back and forth, like right here, okay? You got Marco Cocchetto, and then over here, you've got Messina. It's like, dude, okay, why'd you do that? And if you're gonna delay this issue and keep delaying it or whatever, couldn't you just let Marco Cocchetto just take the time that he needed to close it out? I just thought it was just so disappointing to see that this wasn't fully Marco Cocchetto, and I know that's, you know, me being, I don't know, I'm like greedy or something like that, but man, it's just, for the send-off for the series, I didn't want to see any Messina artwork, all right? Is that too much to ask for? But I don't know. I do think that they landed, they stuck the landing. The whole, like, if you think about it, right, the whole 24 issues, it's been Peter Parker getting ready to fight Wilson Fisk, and we finally got it. He beat him, and then it turns out that the Wilson Fisk, he got tricked into jumping over the edge by this Mr. Negative, so now they're both dead or whatever. All right, so that kind of loop is closed. He's still kind of, you know, he didn't solve the Maker issue, and that's what he's doing in the Ultimate Endgame event. The fact that this came out after the start of Ultimate Endgame, it's like, dude, the whole thing is just a mess, bro. So I just need all the Ultimate series to end. I don't care about him anymore. I never felt that attached to this version of Peter. You know, he's a dad, but I really wanted more dad stuff. We didn't even get like that much of it, I feel. You got stuff with J. Jonah Jameson and like the Uncle Ben, and like they're doing the newspaper stuff. Like, that's cool, and I get the behind the scenes messaging on, you know, the truth to fight power and all that stuff John Hickman's trying to do, but I just think the series as a whole was a little bit disappointing. Let me know what you think about it in the comments, because I really feel like I might be in the minority. I feel like a lot of people enjoy this series, but man, I just think that it wasn't bad by any means, but the potential that it had, it did not meet that potential even close, dude. So yeah, let me know what you think about Ultimate Spider-Man as it's the series is wrapping up. I was thinking about doing a retrospective video on like the whole thing, but one, I'm not smart enough to do that. I'm not like a video essay kind of guy. But then two, it's just like, I don't know, man. I want to talk about stuff that I like, and this really disappointed me, so I kind of don't want to talk about it. But yeah, let me know what you think about it in the comments. Let's jump into the chat to see if people agree with me or think I'm crazy. Bricks Meter says, yeah, I decided Little Caesars and some crazy bread. There you go. Paul Dev says, the Kingpin and Mr. Negative death is probably my biggest problem with that ending. Felt so lazy just to kill each other. That's what I'm saying, dude. It's like what was the point of this Ultimate Spider-Man series, right? Like, it's, I do like the overall message of, you know, like Peter Parker was like thinking that he was missing something in his life. And it turns out that, you know, when he had the opportunity to be Spider-Man, he's like, oh, this is what I was missing in my life. It turns out that wasn't. He just like, you know, like was able to fall back on like the love that he had with his wife and his kids and stuff. And like, that was the thing that completed him at the end of the series or something like that, right? But I don't know, dude. I'm just like, what was the point of the series? Like, you got all the stuff with like Mole Man and like the Mysterio part, and like I feel like Green Goblin's story just kind of ends in a weird spot. So I don't know, man. I just think that something happened with this Ultimate Spider-Man series, because like once you're in the Kraven's Last Hunt kind of part of it, that was like the peak of it, and then it quickly took a nosedive. So yeah, let me know what you think about it in the comments if I'm totally off base. Not Skim Milk says, concept great, execution was meh. There you go. Christopher Allen 254 says, tuning in late, did you already discuss the Hellblazer comic in the thumbnail? So Christopher Allen, we're going to be talking about the DC solicits as the last topic for today, as the big topic. So after we get through these comic book reviews, we'll be going through the DC solicits pretty quickly too. So yeah, just stick around for that if you don't mind, or it's going to be up later as its own video if you're waiting for that. Nameds319 says, it's great to know that there are others who aren't fans of this Ultimate Universe. I did love Ultimate Black Panther though. I feel like that's a hot take. I personally fell off that series on maybe issue 13 or something like that. But that's cool that people stuck through Ultimate Black Panther and enjoyed it. I fell off of it pretty hard in the early days of the Ultimate Universe. Let's keep it going with the comic book reviews though, and let's talk about End of Life, issue 1, new DC Vertigo title from Steve Pugh as the artist and Kyle Starks on the writing duties. This was an interesting story. So we got this guy, his name is Eddie Stallion, I believe. He's the son of a very famous hitman. It turns out there was a job that Eddie Stallion went on, he was hired to do, and it turns out he was hired to rob one of the big wigs in the hitman assassination sort of organization, right? So you're not supposed to rob members of this organization or you're going to be on the shit list. So Eddie Stallion makes that mistake and he immediately says, all right, well, I got to go run away. And so he jumps on a train and tries to, get to the last place that he believes this organization can find, or last place they'll think of. And that's back home in his small town. So he's hanging out there talking with the gas station lady. And it's very apparent that, Kyle Starks and Steve Pugh, like they're very skilled at doing comedy writing and comedy comic book sequential art and stuff like that, right? Like as you're reading this, you can just look around, like there's always like funny little bits and then the background and stuff like that in the art. Kyle Starks has really funny comedic writing. He excels at that. So if that sounds like an interesting kind of setup to a story, definitely check out End of Life. I thought it was a solid issue number 1. We meet his dad, the famous assassin guy. He's like, hey, I told you never to come back, but all right, I guess you're my son, so we're going to be hanging out. Eddie fills him in and he says, hey, they're going to be coming after me at some point. So we know that the assassin organization, they're going to be coming pretty hard for this Eddie character, trying to get all the money back from the bigwig. And that's kind of where the issue ends. End of Life, issue 1. I think it's a pretty promising setup. I need to very quickly see more about this Eddie character. Like he so far is he's not a nice character. He's kind of an asshole. And I don't know, he's not a lovable asshole right now, right? So I need to see kind of some more evolution to this character and see if he's got some more layers, I guess, than it seems like he does on the surface. But it's kind of like a John Wick sort of story. Like John Wick if he was an asshole, or like John Wick mixed with like Johnny Bravo or something. That's kind of the vibes that it's given off. So yeah, if that sounds interesting to you, check out End of Life, a new DC Vertigo title from Kyle Starks and Steve Pugh. Jumping into the chat, Christopher Allen says, awesome, I'll stick around and watch. Appreciate you sticking around. Bricks Meter says, Eddie looks a lot like Jim Carrey. Yeah, he's got some Jim Carrey sort of features going on. Yeah, I could see Jim Carrey. That's not a bad it's not a bad call out. Oh geez, hold on. How do I mute hold on. Let me Alrighty, let's keep it going with the comic book reviews. Next up, we got Captain America number 7. Listen, dude, I'm loving this Captain America series from Chip Zdarsky. It's all about Captain America in this current arc. He's going back into Latveria after the events of One World Under Doom. He's trying to help S.H.I.E.L.D. right now. He's trying to help them go into Doom's fortress and potentially get some weapons out of the, of the stronghold so they don't fall into the wrong hands. And Steve believes that that's like a good fight to have. The U.S. government originally wanted him to do that as part of their behalf, but Steve Rogers decided to do it as part of S.H.I.E.L.D. instead. He's kind of overworking for the U.S. government. He understands that he doesn't want to be a tool to be used by the U.S. government sort of thing. So he fights off against the Red Hulk, though. The Red Hulk is doing this as part of the U.S. government's. He's like the liaison for the U.S. government side of this operation. So they're going to be butting heads. Red Hulk doesn't want to be taking commands from, Steve. And we're going through, it looks like there are a bunch of different factions set up in Latveria right now after the fall of Victor Von Doom. There's like the pacifist group that believes that, they should be stopping all fighting or whatever. Turns out that the leader of that organization is the daughter of Victor Von Doom, I believe. And then we know that there's a rebel group that is trying to take it over by military force. So their tactics are a lot like Dr. Doom's. And, they might be seen as sort of the villains in the situation. And then there's sort of the, I guess like the good guy group. So Steve's not really sure like which faction he wants to help. And yeah, it's kind of like this, this thing that weighs on Steve. It's like, like this country, like really, like, do you depose their leader? Maybe you'll only make way for like an evil worse person to step into their place. So it's kind of this interesting situation that Steve has put him in. And I like that it follows the first arc. It's kind of like an echo, like, yo, Steve, you didn't finish the job all the way back in when you first came out of the ice in the first arc from Chip Zdarsky, and you have this second chance to sort of rectify and correct your mistakes. So what are you going to do? And I loved all these moments where Steve is talking to some of the citizens of Latveria, just trying to get their point of view. And I thought that was like super smart from Chip Zdarsky to have Steve do to try to understand their point of view. And yeah, it looks like right here, yeah, Alina von Doom, and I need you to help me save Latveria, Steve Rogers. So the pacifist group is going to say, hey, Steve, you got to help us take our country back. And we'll see if Steve kind of joins them on that mission, or if he's still going to be just doing the mission that he was sent by S.H.I.E.L.D. to complete. So yeah, interesting stuff with this Captain America series. I think that Chip Zdarsky, he's just nailing it now. And I think that the art, even though it's not Valerio Schiti, the artist from the first arc, I think it's still pretty solid. So yeah, keeping it going with that great Captain America series. From the chat, we got Uncapped. He says, hello, twin. He also says the new Cap issue was better than the previous. Yeah, dude, I agree. I think this one was better than the very last issue. And this potentially has, it has the potential to be better than the first arc even, this current arc. So yeah, we're loving it. Namid319 says, I hope Red Hulk makes it to the Infernal Hulk book. That would be sick. I could see that crossover happening for sure. It seems like Red Hulk is like a power player in the DC or the Marvel universe right now. So yeah. Paul Dev said, did I pick up Weapons of Armageddon? I didn't. My shop didn't have any. And honestly, I haven't heard if, wait, did that already come out? Maybe that came out last week. Yeah, I haven't heard if it was good or not, if I'm missing out. So yeah, let me know down in the comments if I need to go back and pick up Weapons of Armageddon. But let's keep it going with the comic book reviews, because we have a couple more, like Nightwing number 135. I thought this was a solid issue. It closed out this third arc from Dan Waters. We got Dexter Soy, kind of like his swan song, his last interior art on this Nightwing title. And we know that Nightwing is inside the fifth dimension with the help of Martian Manhunter. He's trying to rescue all of these kids and try to stop this evil clown guy. Where's a good picture of him? This guy here named the Zanny. And the Zanny kind of reminds me of It, right? So just this evil clown guy that has like a historical, he's like tied to, Bloodhaven in a historical sense. And he's just sort of tricking all these kids into, getting kidnapped or whatever, drawing them in. So Nightwing has to go into the fifth dimension and kind of stop them. So I thought this arc was really solid. It really, Nightwing being, his origin and stuff like that, like he really has a soft spot for kids. So to see him go in and try to save them all was really cool. And then we know that this Nightwing Prime guy from the first arc, one of the Teddy Gang kids, he got some unusual powers, fifth dimensional powers in the second arc with the help of Nightmite, I believe. And yeah, so we know that he is actually going to be down in the fifth dimension. He's going to be fighting this Zanny guy till the end of time, I guess, and just keeping him at bay, making sure that he can never come out and hurt any kid of Bloodhaven ever again. And I thought it was really compelling, but it's really just sad to see this Nightwing Prime character. He's saying, yo, Nightwing, like, go without me, man. Like, I'm happy. Like, I'm doing exactly what I want to do. Like, I'm helping kids every single day. And I'll be honest with you, it kind of brought tears to my eyes. Like, at this point right here, where one of the kids who was saved by Nightwing Prime down in the fifth dimension, this kid calls Nightwing over and explains to Nightwing, like, hey, the Nightwing Prime down there, he asked me to tell you that he's all right. He's keeping the door closed, the monsters at bay. And what he's doing, it's better than anything he ever hoped for here. It's good. So it's just like, man, I'll have to see if Dan Waters like picks up this string, and I would want Nightwing to go and try to save this Nightwing Prime kid however he can. But, I guess it remains to be seen if that's something that Dan Waters wants to have Nightwing doing. And then we know that at the very end here in the epilogue, there's this new crime boss guy who's starting to spin up. He's probably going to be the next big villain in the Nightwing series. And I'm kind of hoping that Dan Waters gets this Nightwing series back to some of its like darker, detective, sort of more grounded sort of take that he had in the first arc. I'm not a big fan of the fifth dimensional, like sort of wackiness, right? And this was about like as wacky as I want the series to get. So hopefully they don't get even more wacky in the next arc and they kind of take it back to that first arc where I feel like it was really just, you know, Dan Waters, Dexter Soy, and it was Nightwing doing some detective sort of stuff, right? So yeah, hopefully they get back to that. But regardless, I think this Nightwing series is one to add to your pull list if you don't have it already. And next up, we got 4 things to talk about, so we'll get through them pretty quickly. I didn't mean to go for comic book reviews for this long. Let's see, jumping into the chat really quick. Is it crazy that I'm dropping Cap? That is crazy. Damn. But I get it, you know, it's not for everybody. Right now, it's my favorite Marvel series, so that's why I say it's crazy, but yeah, I won't fault anybody for sure. Uncapped said, I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't that good. Which one? You didn't even say which one you're talking about, Uncapped. It came out last week, Paul Dev says. Okay, I don't think you're missing out on much, though. Interesting. Okay, so I know that was like the new Chip Zdarsky, like he's getting ready for the event or whatever. So there was a lot of hype behind it. But yeah, maybe I don't have to jump on it. Paul Dev also says, looking forward to Dennis Cohen jumping onto the title next issue. His artwork on The Question is amazing. Yeah, I'm reading The Question Omnibus right now. And yeah, it's just, Dennis Cohen's artwork is just so sick. I'm curious how it's going to work in like a modern day Nightwing series. I think it has a lot of potential for sure. Ethan Johnson says, I'm hopping on Nightwing at 136. That is a great, that's a great idea. Yeah, jump on Nightwing number 136. I think that'll be a new great starting point. It seems like Dan Waters really likes the 3-arc sort of structure. Like you got the first arc, second arc, third arc, and hopefully we'll be bringing a new kind of situation for this Nightwing to be going on. I was talking about Weapons of Armageddon in that text. Okay, cool. So yeah, it wasn't that good. Gotcha. And then you like the previous Nightwing arc. So yeah. All right, let's talk about Exquisite Corpses as the next comic book review. So Exquisite Corpses number 10, solid issue. The tournament's still going on. The players are still trying to kill each other. I thought that the art in this one, maybe not as good as the couple previous issues. It was pretty graphic though, as we see this girl who's like caught up in all this this barbed wire, and these 2 of the killers are kind of going at it while the girl's caught up in the barbed wire. Got pretty gory, got pretty vicious as we see the Fox lady, who's my pick to win the tournament, by the way. I called this way long time ago, so it's cool that she's still in the tournament fighting. She's using her teeth, bro. She's scripting stuff, scripting out body parts, and yeah, pretty interesting stuff there. The paramedic lady, the EMT, is sort of like the hero of the story. She's one of the civilians that is taking it back to the killers and taking it back to the evil organization that's running the tournament. She got the drop on one of the guys that controls stuff for the tournament, the groundskeeper, and, you know, took him out. So yeah, that's cool from our paramedic, you know, lady, the hero of the story here. And yeah, it's kind of just a setup for, they have a run-in, some of the characters have a run-in with this evil Randy, the strangler guy who wears a bunny costume. So yeah, I would say not the best issue of the series so far. It's an interesting series in that every single issue, everybody's story only moves up like incrementally, right? Because you have all these different story threads that are going on at the same time. So everybody can only have a little bit of story progression or a little bit of character development. So every issue doesn't seem like a ton is happening. But if I look at the past 10 issues, it's been a really fun and enjoyable ride. It's just, yeah, I don't know, maybe it's not the best month-to-month reading experience. If you guys have the opportunity to read Exquisite Corpses in a trade, maybe that's the better way to read it, quite possibly. But yeah, I'll never not pick up a James Tynion single issue pretty much. But let's talk about Fantastic Four really quickly. So this was about a sort of like an alternate version of the Fantastic Four. And it's kind of like the alternate version's origin story, right? So they go through, it's, you know, that Reed and the rest of the Fantastic Four discovers that Sue might have these more powers than they thought she had previously. And then it goes through, but then this version of Sue, there's something bad that happens. She has like a nightmare in her dream, and when she wakes up, it turns out she's accidentally killed like every human on Earth. So I'm like, okay, this isn't our Sue, right? This is something even crazier. She has Johnny burn the part of her brain that like feels remorse for what she did. So she's like, hey, listen, I can't stop the fact or reverse the fact that I killed all the humans, but burn it out of my head that I feel bad about it. So he does that, and then she kills her own brother, I guess? And then she kind of turns into a villain, as we see right here. So this is what Galactus was trying to warn the Fantastic Four in trying to get Sue to come and like, hey, search for Sue Storm. He sent out this message, right? So Fantastic Four were following up on it and like, yo, Galactus, what'd you need, bro? Turns out Galactus was like, hey, there's this evil version of Sue Storm who has this crazy villain origin story and she's coming. And her name is the Invincible Woman. So yeah, Ryan North, this new version of Sue Storm. I'm interested to see what kind of havoc she'll play. And it seems like she's way more powerful than Sue. I'm not sure, but she has, you know, no qualms about using her powers for evil, it seems like, right? So an evil version of Sue, we'll have to see how the Fantastic Four deals with that. I thought this was a solid issue from Ryan North and Humberto Ramos. Let's keep it going, talk about G.I. Joe, issue 19. I thought that this was a great issue because it's following the Dreadnought War. We know that Duke is upset about the fact that some members on his team were in cahoots with a Transformer and they didn't let him know. But Duke doesn't understand that, yo, there's the Autobots and then there's the Decepticons, right? So there's a difference. The Decepticons killed your friends, so you shouldn't be racist or whatever against, xenophobic against the Transformers like the Autobots, right? But anyways, we know that this guy here, Colonel Hawk, I think his name is, he is secretly a member of the Dreadnoks. His name is Zartan. He's one of the big villains in the G.I. Joe universe. So he's kind of playing both sides right now at the same time that Duke is dealing with this Transformer stuff. Some members of the G.I. Joe group, they're on another mission and they're running into Scrap Iron, I believe. So a new villain getting introduced into the story as some members of the G.I. Joe are off on another mission. Yeah, just a solid like first issue to the arc, you know, following the Dreadnought War stuff and just setting up the pieces that will be messing around with Josh Williamson and the team in the next couple issues. So really solid stuff here with G.I. Joe number 19. I'm just in love with G.I. Joe, man. I really do think that at this point, I might drop Transformers, bro. Like after this arc, if it doesn't do something crazy, I might be dropping the Robert Kirkman Transformers series. Last but not least, let's talk about Wonder Woman issue 30, last comic book review for today. This was the end of the two-parter, Stephanie Williams written with Jeffrey Spokes on the art. And it was like a fun little two-issue thing, right? So Diana, she went off island. She said, hey, you know, my family in Themyscira, can you guys watch over Trinity for me? I got to go and just be chilling because being a mom is hard work. And while the other members of the Wonder Woman family are trying to take care of Trinity, this bad guy Eris, she's messing with all of their minds and making them all more aggressive and say things that they don't mean. And this was really just a story of all the Wonder Woman characters just coming together and, you know, fighting their inner demons and just, you know, I don't know. At the end of the day, like they're all sisters and it's like the womanhood and the camaraderie and that's what makes them great sort of thing. So I was liking the message that Stephanie Williams was giving us. It's a full sort of look at all the members of the Wonder Woman family, like all the Wonder Girls, Nubia and some other members of Themyscira going up against Eris. And it was just a nice little, you know, 2-issue short thing. It was nothing too crazy. I do got to say though, Jeffrey Spokes artwork, listen, if you want to come and be the main Wonder Woman artist, like I would not be mad at that. I think Jeffrey Spokes has a really cool art style. And yeah, I thought this was just a short little beautiful story wrapped up in 2 issues and we just see them all having a great time at the end of the day. So yeah, I guess right here it continues in the Wonder War. So it seems like Eris, she got up with something that she was trying to get, like a little seed, and maybe that seed will grow into something more evil in the next couple issues. We'll see what Tom King and Daniel Sampere pick up from the threads on this one. So yeah, Wonder Woman number 30, pretty decent stuff there. And that'll do it for the weekly comic book reviews. A lot of great stuff reviewed in this video. New DC Vertigo title, End of an Era for Ultimate Spider-Man, and some great stuff from Marvel Comics. Where the hell? Oh, there it is. And of course, Absolute Batman was the pick of the week. Loving that look at Absolute Poison Ivy. So that's what we got for the comic book reviews. Now we've got the DC solicits to get through, and I think we'll get through them pretty quickly. So yeah, let me pull them up here on the phone And hopefully you guys are having a nice Monday, of course. Always doing the Monday New Comic Weekly at 4 p.m. Eastern. Let me pull up comicreleases.com. Also, I'll check where the wife's at. Is the wife almost home? Yeah, wife's almost home. All right, so we'll get through the comic book solicitations real quickly. These are the DC solicits. So everything coming out in May 2026 from DC Comics. And yeah, let's get into it. So the site that we're using is comicreleases.com. A good friend, Dom of X, helps run this site, and he does a lot of good work over here. So that's what we're going to be using. Jumping over to the solicitation section, jumping over to 2026, May 2026, DC solicitation. So yeah, we're going to be getting into it after I read the comments first. I forgot to check up with the chat. Let's see. I recommend checking out John Ostrander's Spectre Omnibus. I loved it. I think I have that. This is the Wrath of the Spectre. Wrath of the Spectre. So yeah, not the one that you just said. Not the John Ostrander, I believe. Yeah, it looks like Michael Fleister, Gardner Fox, Neil Adams, and Jim Aparo. So I got this. At some point, I'll be reading that one. Let's put it back. All right, let's do the solicits, okay? Oh, geez, what just fell? Jesus Christ. Oh, my goodness. Things are falling down like crazy. All right, DC solicitations for May 2026. Like I was saying, the site we're using is comicreleases.com. Shout out to Dom of X for helping to put together all of the great information over at the Comic Releases site. So yeah, this is what we're using. Table of contents. Let's start off with the trade paperback. So we got a new, wait, hold on. Yeah, here we go. There's the top. New trade paperbacks, right? So the first one up, we got a new Nightwing volume number 3. This is the arc that just ended, the Cirque de Sin. It's Nightwing going up against the Zanny guy. He's trying to kidnap a bunch of kids in Bloodhaven, so Nightwing's got to stop him. Pretty good stuff. It's got great artwork from Dexter Soy, great writing from Dan Waters. New volume of Poison Ivy coming out. G. Will Wilson and Marcio Takara continuing their excellent run. That'll collect up to Poison Ivy number 41, man. So almost hitting issue 50 with the Poison Ivy series. Pretty cool there. That's it for the trade paperbacks, it looks like. So we go into the hardcovers. We have Batman the Black Casebook Deluxe Edition. So it has a bunch of stories that inspired Grant Morrison's run. This one's interesting. I've never seen a collection like this. Stories that inspired someone else's run all collected together. So you have some classic material from Bill Finger and Dick Sprang and, Bob Kane. But yeah, I don't know if this is kind of like a kind of paired with Morrison's Batman run, I guess. Like, I don't know if that's kind of the idea. Like, you get this and it goes previous to the Omnis. I'm not sure. We also have Absolute Ronin 2026 edition. This is a very well acclaimed series from Frank Miller. I haven't read it myself, but this will collect issues number 1 through 6 of Ronin in a giant oversized Absolute edition. A deluxe edition coming out. We got Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This is previously printed, but this is the new 2026 edition. Some James Tynion IV stuff. Freddie E. Williams, the current artist of the ongoing TMNT title from IDW. Some cool stuff there. Seeing some early Freddie E. Williams stuff. Batman the Bronze Age Omnibus. So if you're into the Bronze Age, I mean, this is like a must-have. You got Denny O'Neil stuff. You got Neil Adams, right? So a lot of great classic material collected here. It's got some Batman stuff. It's got some Detective Comics stuff, but it's all in the Bronze Age. So yeah, I know some people are looking forward to that one. We have Elseworlds Justice League Omnibus. If you're into the Elseworlds stuff, you can have some lot of fun in the Elseworlds stories. You don't need to read anything previous to these most of the time, right? So yeah, a lot of cool stuff in this, but also I want to highlight and bring to your guys' attention, for the first time in an omnibus form, we got Kingdom Come. So yeah, if you're doing an Elseworlds omnibus, you got to include the best Elseworlds DC story of all time, Kingdom Come, in a omnibus format for the first time. All right, keeping it going. And then, earlier in the chat, we got a question regarding this John Constantine omnibus. So there we go, right there. So we have John Constantine Hellblazer by Paul Jenkins and Sean Phillips, the omnibus. It's going to have 1,256 pages, so it's a big meaty one for $150. This one has to be my most anticipated on the entire DC Solicit. Just some early Sean Phillips stuff. I've loved exploring Sean Phillips, and usually Ed Brubaker is the writer, but them together, excellent, excellent stuff. But yeah, just exploring some early Sean Phillips stuff as he's doing some Hellblazer work with Paul Jenkins. And yeah, I'm going to be picking this up for sure, even though I haven't read too much John Constantine. I'm excited to go down a John Constantine hole at some point this year. So yeah, looking forward to that. We got the Silver Age omnibus for the Justice League. Gardner Fox, Mike Sikowski. I know Dom of X, big Mike Sikowski fan. So he wants to put some respect on Mike Sikowski's name with this Justice League omnibus Silver Age stuff. If you're into that classic material, that might be one to pick up. We got volume number 2 of Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo's Nightwing. So this is pretty cool. If you have volume 1, you got to complete the set, right, and get volume number 2. This has everything you need, except for, if you notice here, it's missing a little gap, but that's because that stuff is collected in Beast World, I believe. So yeah, you might need the Beast World omnibus if that's a thing, or maybe the Titans omnibus includes the Beast World crossover stuff. I'm not sure, but yeah, if you are going to need, if you're trying to collect all the Tom Taylor stuff from this era, you might need the Beast World supplemental content. Absolute Infinite Crisis. A lot of people say the Infinite Crisis is their favorite Crisis event. So this is getting an absolute size printing, reprinting from Jeff Johns, Phil Jimenez, a lot of great creatives attached like George Perez, of course. So yeah, issues number 1 through 7 of Infinite Crisis in a giant absolute sized edition. Superman Action Comics by Dan Jurgens omnibus. So this is omnibus volume number 2. A lot of people speak very highly of this era, I think. So yeah, Dan Jurgens' time on Superman. It's really cool seeing Superman get more and more omnibus releases. I think that he's still like one of the, one of the heroes from DC that has like the most content out there that just isn't collected in the omnibus format. So it's cool seeing them slowly chip away at some of Superman's back catalog there. Joshua Williamson's Flash gets an omnibus volume number 3. I think this concludes Joshua Williamson's time on the character. At some point, I need this 3 omnibus set. I also need to complete the Mark Waid omnibus set that they keep releasing, and the Jeff Johns stuff too. I only have omnibus volume number 1 for the Flash. So yeah, I'm going to be going through a Flash reading journey, very shortly, probably sometime this year, and that should be pretty fun. Keeping it going, the last omnibus it looks like in this solicit is the George Perez omnibus volume number 2 for Wonder Woman. So this 2026 edition, George Perez classic Wonder Woman material there. I myself have not read this material, but I heard it's like the classic Wonder Woman stuff, right? So at some point, maybe I'll get my hands on omnibus volume number 1, and you got to complete it with the volume number 2, I think, right? So yeah. Jumping into the chat really quick, we got a question from Ethan Johnson. It says, early predictions for Absolute Green Arrow, better than either Absolute Martian Manhunter Volume 1? Maybe not better than Martian Manhunter Volume 1. That's pretty tall task to try to better than that. I think that the kind of interesting part about the Green Arrow series is who's under the mask. Is it Ollie somehow, like the spirit of Ollie, or is it Roy Harper, or is it Roy Harper's daughter, or is it Connor Hawke maybe, right? Like it's pretty interesting to see who will be under the mask, in my opinion. So yeah. But as far as how it ranks in the rest of the series, I don't know if it'll rank higher than Absolute Batman, right? Like that's tough to be higher than Absolute Superman, Absolute Martian Manhunter, Absolute Wonder Woman, right? So I don't know if it'll be higher than any of those, but I'm still excited for it either way. Uncap says, did I hear the theory that it's the Spectre? So I had a theory that it was Absolute Deadman. I like the theory that it's Absolute Spectre though too. Yeah, either one I'd be happy with, but I'd be happy with the Deadman one because that's the theory I said. So I would get some internet clout there. What if it's James Corrigan? Could be. All right, let's keep it going. DC solicits. Let's talk about the trade paperback. Some more trades here, like the Planetary Compendium, Warren Ellis, John Cassidy stuff here. Classic material. I've never read this, but everybody says you got to read Planetary. So at some point, if I can find this compendium for cheap, I might be picking this one up. Teen Titans Together is another release from Cami Garcia and Gabriel Piccolo. If you're into the Teen Titans series that Cammy Garcia has been working on, Beast Boy stuff, you know, the Starfire series, and Beast Boy Loves Raven or something like that. Like a lot of cool stuff in this for the young readers out there. Also, Shadow of the Batgirl. People love this one as far as a young reader, kind of a shorter, shorter read for younger readers. Shadow of the Batgirl people speak highly about. Batman and Robin, volume number 3 from Philip Kennedy Johnson. I think this closes out Philip Kennedy Johnson's time on the title. So pretty interesting there. I fell off this at some point. There was just too many Batman series out at one point. So this one got the axe, unfortunately. Batman and the Monster Men from Matt Wagner gets a new release. Collecting Batman and the Monster Men, numbers 1 through 6. I don't know what this is. I have no idea if it's great material or if it's like some must-have stuff. I'm not sure, but it's pretty interesting there. I think it's a trade. Yeah, it must be a trade because it's in the trade paperback section. Get Hero, the complete collection, written by Anthony Bourdain, which I thought was pretty interesting, but I've not read this material before. Robin Year 1 is getting pretty cool there. Collecting Robin Year 1 through 4. Let's talk about some DC Finest as well. Really love this format. We got the Fourth World, When the Old Gods Die. So some Jack Kirby, some great, excellent DC Jack Kirby stuff. This one I'm interested in getting because I've never read Jack Kirby's New God stuff, and people say that this is like all you really need to get started. A lot of first appearances, a lot of origins in here. So if you're trying to read trying to read New Gods by Jack Kirby, this might be the perfect DC Finest to get started. Batman's getting a new DC Finest. This is some of his stuff from Dennis Cohen on the art, Jim Aparo, right? You got Alan Grant as the writer. So this one could be some cool material here. I'm not sure about this era of Batman. I'm not sure if it's like the highly regarded era for Batman. I'm not sure. Let's talk about some DC compacts. I think there's only one Burnside DC Compact Edition. Now listen, say what you will about this era of Batgirl. People might not be the biggest fans of it, but it had a cultural impact. I mean, just the costume alone, like the kind of purple and yellow and black, like that's when I close my eyes, like that's the Batgirl that I think of just because I was growing up in that era. So even though this might not be everybody's first pick for DC Compact for Batgirl, it's one of the highest selling series, I think, right? So it's no brainer why DC is putting this out there. And you'd think that they would put this one out here a long time ago, to be honest, like in the first couple waves of DC Compacts. Anyways, let's keep it going. So we have some new single issues, right? We're not going to go over every single issue, just the kind of highlights in my opinion. And Absolute Catwoman is definitely a highlight. So writers Che Grayson, Scott Snyder with artist Bengal are bringing us Absolute Catwoman. It seems like this is going to be, we know that Catwoman's like this sort of spy character. She's got all this high-tech gadgets and stuff. So it seems like she's going to be going and completing a sort of mission or a heist, right? And I think that could work really well in the Absolute universe. I think this character has so much potential. So it's really cool seeing them flesh out the Catwoman series. Absolute Green Arrow, of course, from writer Pornsack with art from Raphael Albuquerque. We don't know who's under the mask here. We know that Oliver Queen has been killed in the events of Absolute Evil. So who is under this mask? The person under the mask is looking like they're trying to avenge the death of Ollie. And it looks like Black Canary is going to be right on his tail. So a little cat and mouse game going on. Always a fan of series that do that or stories that do that. We get Absolute Robin getting introduced into the story, quite possibly. Everybody knows what this R means, right? So the R, Robin, we know that Robin's pretty much guaranteed to be coming. It says that after the loss of Redacted enters the scene ready to hunt, and more than one secret will be revealed in this seminal issue. Nick Dragotta coming back on the art, right? So yeah, we'll be interested to see what Scott Snyder brings us here. We got Absolute Superman, of course, is continuing along with Absolute Wonder Woman. Great stuff there. Absolute Green Lantern is finally going out into space. I might need to jump back on the series maybe, or maybe I'll just catch it on the app. Absolute Flash continues as well with Nick Robles on the art. Cool stuff there. And then the last issue of Martian Manhunter. Sad to see it go, but we know that this creative team has something else in the pipe. We're hoping that it's Doom Patrol, man. So put all that energy out there. We're hoping Dennis Camp and Javier Rodriguez are working on Doom Patrol next, coming out this summer. Now next, we'll talk about some of the number ones in featured series. like Barbara Gordon Breakout. This is from writer Mariko Tamaki and Amanke on the art. And we know that Barbara Gordon, following the events of the main Batman title, Vandal Savage is the commissioner, and he is going to be putting the crackdown on superpowered people, or at least members of the Bat family in Gotham City, right? So looks like Barbara Gordon got caught up in that. She's going to be in prison with a bunch of other supervillains, and we'll see if Barbara Gordon can get out of that, right? But I mean, just from the covers, it looks like she's handling her own, right? So Barbara Gordon throwing a mean right hook. She's got that smirk as she's, you know, it's almost like, hey, I'm not locked in here with you. You guys are locked in here with me kind of thing, right? So yeah, Barbara Gordon Breakout, pretty cool stuff there. We know there's another crossover with Sonic coming with DC. Guy Gardner gets his own one-shot. There's going to be a Superman story. It's an Elseworlds story from Kenny Porter and Danny Earls, where Jor-El, the dad, was the one to make it to Earth. So we'll have to see what's going on with that and that fun little Elseworlds story there. DC Next Level continues with Zatanna. We got Batwoman. I do want to make note, Batwoman, it looks like we get Renee Montoya back into the story in a big way. I love Renee Montoya, one of my favorite DC characters of all time. Lobo continues with issue 3. New Deathstroke, as well as the Fury of the Firestorm. Batman Office, we got the normal stuff there. Poison Ivy, Batgirl, Detective Comics. Nothing really jumping out at me here. Justice League Office, some more of the same. The ongoing Justice League Unlimited series. We got JSA, Action Comics, Superman. Supergirl continues, which is cool to see. Shout out to Sophie Campbell. Justice League Unlimited, which I had dropped. Batman Superman World's Finest. New Titans, which is a new revamped title from Tate Bromble with art from Sammy Basri. I'm excited about that. Yeah, this might be it for the solicits, guys. So I don't know if I missed anything. DC Black Label, I don't think anything significant. Yeah. And then it gets into the Vertigo. I don't think we have any new Vertigo titles. It's just issues 4 of all the stuff that they have released up to this point. Some Elseworld stuff. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And then we get into the facsimiles. So yeah, I think that'll do it for the DC solicits for May 2026. All this DC comic coming out in May. Let me know, what are you most excited for down in the comments. Always curious to know. And while you're down there, like if you like, sub if you love, and if you like it, you can hype it. Thank you guys for watching this DC Solicitations, and I'll catch you in the next one. All right, guys, that's it. New Comic Weekly, another one in the books, live for an hour and 7 minutes. That's a nice little stream there. Ethan Johnson asked, I got a $100 monthly budget for comics. My March budget is maxed. Do you think it's worth dropping some floppies for Batman Dark Pattern? You know, that's an interesting question, because Batman Dark Patterns is so good, but it's going to be a fairly expensive trade paperback. If you can find it for cheaper using cheap graphic novels, in-stock trades, maybe you can squeeze it onto your budget, you know what I mean? But trading it for some single issues, that's tough. I would say maybe the trade is always going to be there, right? So maybe if you have like a lighter month, you can pick it up on that month. I don't know. That's a tough question. Uncap says, what DC Next Level are am I most excited for? I gotta say the Batwoman series, man. So like, I'm excited to see what Jeff Lemire can do with a Fury of the Firestorm character, like a series, but I'm not really into that character. Like I'm not like the biggest Firestorm fan or whatever. It's more of the Jeff Lemire name that draws me to that one. I'm not a Lobo fan. I'm not a Deathstroke fan. Yeah, I really do think it's probably Greg Rucka's return to the Batwoman character. I think that has so much potential. Although the the stuff that doesn't have creative teams announced, that's got me really excited. Like Legion of Superheroes, like sort of, just because I've never read a Legion book. But the Doom Patrol, I feel like has a lot of potential. There needs to be a Doom Patrol ongoing. I don't know why there isn't already. Jonah Hex could be cool. I'm a Western fan, right? So that could be a cool one. I'm not a big Demon Etrigan fan. You know, it's interesting. DC Next Level, it has a lot of cool stuff, but I feel like it's not stuff for me, if that makes sense. So I'll be tuning in here and there, but it's not like I'm pulling every single DC Next Level series. DC Vertigo, on the other hand, I'm all in on Vertigo. So yeah. Paul Dev says, think it's super cool Fractions Batman will tie into this. Yeah, dude, I have loved the story beats in Matt Fractions' Batman series, and it's cool to see things outside of the Batman series kind of pull on those threads too, right? It really feels like I don't know, like it's really well thought out and it's really planned, and like all the other writers are on board with what Matt Fraction's doing, and it just makes the DC universe feel like well lived in and kind of alive, if that makes sense, right? Uncapped says, I'm most excited for Batwoman Series 2. The creative team sounds amazing. I'm curious who they're going to get on Etrigan. Yeah, at some point I would like to do a video where I kind of guess and sort of speculate on who is going to be on the creative teams for these next titles. So maybe I can put something together for a future video. But I think with that being said, man, that's another New Comic Book Weekly. So shout out to everybody for joining me here in the chat. For those that don't know, New Comic Book Weekly is a live show that I do every single Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern. I talk about the previous week's weekly comic book reviews. I also talk about the current week's pull list, everything I'm looking forward to that week. And then we do a giant, big old topic live with you guys, the audience. So this past week, we talked about the DC solicits, and we had a great time doing it, man. So catch me every single Monday, 4 p.m. Eastern for New Comic Weekly. You can be like those in the chat. We got Paul Dev, we got Uncapped, we got Ethan Johnson, we got a lot of people like... we got Named, we got Christopher Allen, he was here earlier. We got Bricks Meter, right? Derek Seaborn, of course. So a lot of fun people joining for a New Comic Book Weekly, and you could join them too every single Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Thank you guys for watching, and yeah, another New Comic Book Weekly. So yeah, shout out to everybody for watching live, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.